Yeah, Jim, we're just going to talk a little bit more about that tornado warning that is still in effect for another 5 minutes or so up in Berks County. So again, we've been monitoring this since it was issued just around 6:40 or so. And then it is still a potential problem for us for just about the next 4 or 5 minutes. We're going to continue to keep an eye on this cell that has been a problem for us all morning long. It originally started with some very heavy rain, and then it proceeded to get upgraded from just a flash flood warning to then a severe thunderstorm warning, and then we ended up with a tornado warning that has been issued until 7 o'clock. We take you out to Storm Scan 3 to give you an idea of where this is. Right now, again, it is out in Berks County, and actually it looks like they have now extended the tornado warning until 7:30. So we have our first one that will expire in just about 4 minutes or so. That will be the one that expires at 7 a.m. That was our original warning. And now the National Weather Service has extended the area and the time to include still Berks and Lehigh County, but this one will go until 7:30. So right now we're showing you the velocity image. So this is kind of, when we're talking about velocity out there, we talk about rotation within the atmosphere. When we're looking at right now are we looking at upper air winds that are moving towards or away from the radar? And usually in these kinds of situations, we look for this red and green kind of coming together, and that gives you the idea of where rotation could possibly be in the upper parts of, again, the atmosphere right now with this particular cell. I will take the warnings off just real quickly, and what we're going to do, I'll put our actual radar back on, and so everyone can kind of see what we're dealing with here. Again, this is a large cell that has been having dangerous lightning with it. A lot of heavy rain has been associated with this, of course, and this is the cell itself now continuing to move just away from the Maiden Creek area towards the Long Swamp. You see Valley in there as well. And if we do put our tornado warning boxes back on there, the most recent warning that is for the one until 7:30, that is our extended warning that is including now the Long Swamp area, and we'll kind of zoom in. You see Lower Macungie now is associated with that second tornado warning, the extended one, and then also Lower Milford as well. So the I-476, the corridor, the northeast extension from just a little bit to the north of the Berks County and Lehigh County border, basically all the way to almost Allentown, right to close to 78 and 222 is where this second warning is now issued for. So again, we'll kind of just show you what we're dealing with when it comes to our velocity image, where we could potentially be seeing some of that upper air rotation at this point. It's a little bit broad right now. We're taking a look at this is the Fort Dix radar. We'll also get a look at, maybe we can get a better idea by taking, this is our State College radar. Also kind of giving you a better idea of maybe where some of that broad rotation is at this point. You can kind of see in this general area just a little bit south of 222 and just a little bit southwest of Lower Macungie. Again, we have that green and red all kind of sitting in the same general area, giving you that idea of that potential upper air rotation that has spawned the tornado warning that was issued, again, just around 6:40 or so, and has now been extended until 7:30. It was originally scheduled to expire in just about a minute at 7 o'clock, but again, the National Weather Service has now extended that until 7:30. Moving just around 15 miles an hour or so, so it's not all that fast moving. So while the winds are going to be strong and we're going to be tracking that potential for, yes, a possible tornado, we are still concerned with the heavy rain that has been coming down with this. And of course, we have had that potential for flash flooding all morning long, and that is a threat that will continue throughout our day today. Here is our tropical, or I don't want to say tropical track. Here is our tornado track. We'll start it just a little bit to the east of the Rockland area. This is kind of moving in a east-northeasterly fashion, again, just about 15 miles an hour or so, and that would put it anywhere near the Henningsville area, right around 7:01. So that's basically right now. We're talking about Pilgert in just about 5 minutes at 7:05. Long Swamp as well, 7:09. The Alberts area around 7:19, and then into Lower Macungie and close again to the northeast extension by 7:30 this morning. So just about the time that this warning would be expiring, that's when we'll start to see it get closer to, again, the northeast extension right around 7:30 or so this morning. So just in just about a half an hour from now. Also, as I continue to just kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be possibly looking at here, we will see if we can get any hail with this. There's no real hail being reported at this point. Usually when we have these kinds of storms, we do get the chance for a little bit of small hail to develop, which we are not seeing right now, which is a good thing. Again, if we're just dealing with plenty of heavy rain and also the potential, for a tornado, we don't need to add into that the potential there for also some small hail. So here is, again, just our actual reflectivity. We're taking a look at some of the heaviest rain that is coming down right now. This is, again, up in Berks and also Lehigh County, just now 7 o'clock in the morning, with a tornado warning that has been issued and goes for just about another half an hour or so. There is the warning itself. We'll zoom in and give you a better look at some of the towns that are going to be affected by this. So if you are in the Long Swamp area, you see District. We're also looking at Hereford, Lower Milford, Lower Macungie, and as we head closer to 29, you have Emmaus, Upper Milford, also the Alberts area. Salisbury, you are just on the outside of this tornado warning, but anywhere that is included, any of those towns that I just said, if you do live in any of those places, I highly suggest that you be getting to your safe place now. You want to be heading to the lowest level of your home. That is where you will be the most safest. You want to put as many walls in between yourself and the outside as you can, because even though there hasn't been a report just yet that we do have a tornado on the ground, there's still probably some very strong gusty winds that could be throwing debris around. And then if we do end up, of course, with a tornado, that is our strongest winds, and you want to keep yourself as safe as possible. Something else to think about with this, with the heavy rain that is coming down, if we do end up with a funnel cloud or any kind of tornadic activity, it will most likely be what we like to call rain wrapped. And what that means, it would make it very hard to be seen. We're talking about very dark, dense clouds, and with that heavy rain coming down, it would obscure what you're actually able to see. So again, while we haven't had a report that a tornado is actually on the ground, if you do see it, or if one were to form, it right now would most likely not be able to be seen because it's going to be obscured by a lot of that heavy rain that has been coming down all morning long and continues to be a factor and a problem for us. I also do want to just give you a quick update on our severe potential when it comes to the rest of the day. We have been talking about this through most of the morning. We have the threat for severe weather today. We do have that slight risk. It's level 2 out of 5 when it comes to severe weather everywhere that you see shaded in that yellow. So from basically the I-95 corridor up into the Berks County, the Lehigh Valley, and the Poconos, where we're already having some issues this morning. This is all associated with a passing warm front here early in the day. We will see that front kind of clear as we get towards the mid to late morning hours, but then it's just going to be hot and humid in the afternoon, and the atmosphere will still be pretty ripe for the threat of some pop-up thunderstorms that could once again be strong to severe. And our biggest threats today, yes, we do have our tornado threat. They will be generally isolated, especially as the day progresses, but strong winds, some small hail, and of course, locally heavy rain is always a problem when we come with these. That always comes with these kinds of situations. Well, so we'll take you back to our reflectivity, our storm scan 3 here this morning, and give you another look at exactly what we're dealing with here. Again, this is a tornado warning for Berks and Lehigh County. Officially goes until 7:30 this morning. This is an extended version of the first tornado warning, which was issued just about 40 or so minutes ago, or 25 or so minutes ago, right around 6:40 in the morning. It was originally scheduled to end at 7 o'clock, but the National Weather Service has now extended this both in time to 7:30 and in area to include much more of Lehigh County, including the Northeast Extension corridor there, anywhere from about the Lower Milford area, again, back up into Macungie. So as we take off our watch box, our warning box, we'll put another track on this for you. Again, this is moving right around 15 miles an hour, so kind of in an east-northeasterly fashion, so not moving all that fast. And on the inside, where we have our heaviest rain and some of the strongest winds, most likely, as we again give you an idea of where this will be and when. So it's just about 7:05 right now. So the Alberts area, hopefully you are already in your safe space. Hopefully you're in your basement if you have one. Again, putting as many walls in between yourself and the outside as you can. You need to be there in the Alberts right now. That is where we are seeing this storm currently. The Sigmund area in just about 5 minutes or so, right around 7:10, the worst of this this storm will be coming into your area. The Hereford area, 7:15. Lower Macungie by 7:20. Again, Upper Milford, kind of the lower end of our tornado box, that will be right around 7:21. And Emmaus, just shy of 7:30. That's also where we're going to be continuing to see this move off to the east. So it's about 7:29, 7:30, we could potentially be watching for this tornado warning to end. But this storm, even if it were to weaken just a little bit, obviously very strong, obviously causing lots of problems for us this morning. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on it, even as it works its way further to the east out of what could even be at that time maybe the end of our actual tornado warning. Let's go back to our velocity image as well. I've been showing you this a little bit to kind of give you that idea of where we have that upper level, kind of that atmospheric rotation, where we could potentially be seeing maybe the signature that has caused the National Weather Service to issue this tornado warning, and then also, excuse me, to extend it as well. For the time being, what we're going to be looking at is kind of in this general area as I circle it for you. I know it's a very large, kind of broad area, but that is usually what happens when we have these radar indicated, or what we like to call radar indicated tornado warnings. What that means is we're not observing a funnel cloud, we're not observing a tornado on the ground right now, but there is atmospheric conditions that are ripe for the potential for a tornado to form. And one of the things that you need, of course, the biggest thing that we need, the biggest ingredient when it comes to these kind of situations, is that kind of upper air spin, that upper air rotation within these thunderstorms. And again, right now it's a relatively broad area in that yellow circle, but that is what we're looking at. That is where we're seeing, again, the best potential anyway for this tornado to form. That area is what has caused the National Weather Service to issue this warning to begin with. I do want to get another look at just a couple different velocity images. This one is coming in from our Fort Dix radar. We'll take it to the Binghamton radar to see if we can get a little bit of a better idea. It's right now shooting a little bit high up. You see, we don't get as good of a look at what's going on there with our upper air winds with the Binghamton. As we take it to State College, gives you a little bit of a better idea of where we could, again, once again, have that kind of rotation. It's generally, again, very broad in nature, but similar to what the Fort Dix radar was pointing out, it's right almost on the border of Berks and Lehigh County. That line kind of that bisects the circle I just made, that is the border between Berks and Lehigh County. So you can see the worst of this, or at least where the worst of the strongest rotation is, right passing out of Berks County now into Lehigh County, giving the idea that this is continuing that kind of northeasterly motion that we have seen so far here to begin the day. So here again is Storm Scan 3, a will give you a wider range view of the actual cell itself. It is a very large cell. It's been a problem for us as early as about 5 o'clock or so this morning, where we started to see the heavy rain come down, and it initially was a flash flood warning. That was for central parts of Berks County, including the Reading area. That is still in effect until 8:45 this morning. But then as this storm continued to grow and to strengthen, it was upgraded. Then we did have a severe thunderstorm warning. And then again, we now have our second of 2 tornado warnings for this particular cell. There is the warning itself, again until 7:30, give you an idea of where the strongest part of this storm is currently. It is from just around the lower Macungie area to the Hereford area, where we have those purples, kind of the magenta color just to the west of I-476. That is, of course, the center, the strongest portion of this cell, and that's where we're seeing the heaviest rain, where we could also potentially see maybe a little bit of small hail, and it's going to continue in that eastward motion at about 15 miles an hour, eventually crossing over the northeast extension and then getting closer to Northampton County. Upper Saucon, you're just outside of our watch box or our warning box at this point. But again, while we're not looking at the warning extended that far to the east, if you are in the Upper Saucon area, even though rain not coming down overly heavy right now, I really think that you should start to think, just have it in the back of your mind that you might have to move to a safe place if this tornado warning continues to be extended further east. The same goes for Allentown. Allentown is just on the northeast corner, just outside of, I should say the northwest corner of this warning box. And while, again, not included in this current tornado warning, Allentown is most likely seeing some very dangerous lightning and some very heavy rain. So it wouldn't hurt to start to think about the fact, if you're in the Allentown area, that you may have to move to your safe place as well, again, as this storm continues to track its way to the north and east at just about 15 miles an hour. We take our warning box off, and we'll put another track on this for you, starting things kind of back on the backside of the heaviest part of the storm, moving it in that east-northeasterly fashion towards along I-78. And right now we're talking about the Macungie area. We're seeing the storm basically in just about 7 minutes or so in Macungie, right around 7:18. By the time this warning is scheduled to end around 7:30, the worst of the storm should be getting through the Emmaus area. Salisbury, again, right now not included in the current warning, and with the warning scheduled to end at 7:30, maybe by 7:43, we're not overly concerned about the threat for a tornado, but still very strong cell, very heavy rain, very strong winds could still be seen in the Salisbury area by 7:43. Goff Hill, we're at 7:54, and just about 8 o'clock, we're at Sidersville there. Also, again, looking at right now, not within the warning box, but where we could still have a very potent, very strong, powerful storm moving through that region. When we are taking let's clear our track at this point, and what we're going to be looking at was, I was trying to get our lightning on here. Again, lightning, a big problem with this system. Again, right now, you see a ton of lightning strikes. They're going to continue to be something that we also want to just keep an eye out for anytime we get this kind of situation. Lightning can be dangerous. And also just strong, just plain strong gusty winds. There's being winds that are reported in this storm that are on the stronger side. We're seeing hail also being reported as big as a 1/4 inch in diameter at times, that is falling as well. So that is not just the fact that we're overly concerned with, of course, the threat for a tornado as the most dangerous when it comes to our severe weather impacts, but we are looking at other issues as well. Again, with the threat for hail that could be as high, or as big, I should say, as about a 1/4 of an inch in diameter. And just something else to kind of keep in the back of your mind, of course, right now we are dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We are trying to do our social distancing. I know that it's really hard, especially when you need to get into maybe a tight, safe place, whether it be the basement, whether it be a very interior room of your house, that you can't really do that social distancing. So it's just, I know that we talk about the social distancing all the time. You still want to try to follow those precautions as best that you can, but you also want to keep yourself safe from the impending weather as well. So you need to just keep all of that. I know it's a lot to think about, folks. There's a lot going on, but again, just something else that we just need back of our minds. So we've now reached about 7:14 this morning. So we have about 15 minutes or so to go in this second of two tornado warnings. This one, again, still expected to go until 7:30. So just for about another 15 minutes or so. We'll kind of give you a zoomed out view of where the cell actually is. It continues to work its way from west to east, now out of pretty much Berks County completely and into the far northern corner there of Montco. We're getting some rain activity moving into far upper parts of Berks County as well. But generally, the worst of this cell has now moved into Lehigh County, just almost moving right over top of I-476, so right across the northeast extension, and just to the south there of 78, and just to the south of Allentown. So as we kind of loop this for you, we'll put it in motion. We'll talk about the last half an hour or so, and we'll also make it a little bit on the slower side so we can get a really good idea of where this has been in just about the last half an hour. So again, in just about 30 minutes, it moved anywhere from just around the district area, just to the east there of Maiden Creek. This was just around 6:45, and as we put this in motion, it eventually started to cross the border there into Lehigh County just around 7 o'clock or so in the morning, right at 7 a.m. The worst of this cell was pushing from Berks into Lehigh County, and now as we get closer to about 7:10, 7:15, it's now moving through the northeast extension corridor, and again, just to the south of 78 8 is where we're seeing the worst of this particular cell. This, of course, is our tornado warning. This going until 7:30 this morning. Like I said, we have now reached 7:16. So for just about another 14 minutes or so, we will continue to monitor this situation, which at this point, the National Weather Service deems dangerous enough with the conditions ripe that we could potentially have a tornado or a tornadic activity that could develop within this particular severe thunderstorm that we've been monitoring really since about 5 or so this morning with the heavy rain. Now also looking at the potential for hail that could be up to a 1/4 inch in diameter. Strong winds being associated with this, and then we also have that upper level rotation that has warranted the potential anyway for a tornado to develop. Let's go back to our velocity and see what we've been dealing with. Of course, it's kind of been relatively broad, that velocity. I've been talking about it just because it gives us an idea of that spin within the upper parts of the atmosphere. So right now, again, we're taking a look at our State College radar right now. And again, we're still seeing that very broad kind of large area of rotation where we have that green kind of within the red. And what we really want to look for, if we did think that there was maybe a tornado on the ground, was a much more tighter, compact circle of that green and red together. When it's kind of spread out like that, it means that yes, we are seeing that spin, but it's very, again, very large, very broad, and we would need to see it kind of become a little bit more compact if we would start to maybe potentially see that funnel, and then eventually maybe even, yes, a tornado to develop. So again, that was our State College radar. We'll also just get a look at our Binghamton, New York radar to see if we're getting anything else that could maybe give us a better indication of what's going on in the upper levels there. Again, very broad in what we're looking at. And as we take it back to Fort Dix radar, again, we're looking at right now pretty high up in the atmosphere, because as the radar kind of shoots the beam away from the site itself, it shoots it further and further higher into the atmosphere. So right now, from the Fort Dix side of things, we're looking probably a couple thousand feet up. So while, yes, it might look like there maybe is a little bit more rotation on the Fort Dix radar, this is generally very high up. So again, at a couple thousand feet, it's most likely not right now something that we would be, again, generally concerned with, because it is broad and we're talking extremely high up into the atmosphere at this point. We go back to where the strongest part of this cell is. It is now just going over the lower or the upper Milford area. Again, we circled this for you. It's where you see those kind of pinks and purples. That is the heaviest rain. That's also most likely where we're maybe even seeing that 1/4 inch diameter hail, which is also a threat usually within these kinds of storms. It's now 7:18, so just for 12 more minutes, that's how long our tornado warning will go for. Again, this is going until 7:30 this morning. It was issued just around 7:05, just around 7 o'clock, when we had our second of 2 tornado warnings that were issued for the same cell that was moving through Berks County and now going through southern parts of Lehigh County. Just one more time, we like to put our track on this as we continue to kind of see where this is going, where it's kind of been. So on the back side, we're going to continue to move this in that east-northeasterly direction, still moving at about 15 miles an hour or so. So at this point, we're seeing 7:21. So in just about 2 minutes, Zionsville, you'll be getting the worst of this storm. If you're already not getting some extremely heavy rain and even the potential there for a little bit of hail as well. Upper Milford, 7:24. Lower Milford, you'll start to see the back end of the worst of this around 7:29. Then Limeport, Locust Valley, and then Upper Saucon. This time we should hopefully see that the tornado warning has been expired, but still a very strong storm moving through Limeport right around 7:36. Locust Valley, 7:43, and then into the Upper Saucon area just around 7:47. Again, excuse me, even if we are looking at this tornado warning to expire in just about 10 minutes or so at 7:30, even if the National Weather Service does not deem that we need to continue the tornado warning beyond 7:30, this cell has already produced very heavy rainfall and very strong winds and has already produced some small hail. So we will still continue to monitor that threat even beyond 7:30, even if our tornado threat has diminished enough that the National Weather Service will deem that we don't need to extend this warning at that time. We'll take off our track for right now. Again, we'll give you where the warning is for. Again, it started and extended all the way back into Berks County, but now with the crux of the storm system moving further to the east, the worst of this is now basically out of Berks County, maybe a little bit right along the border, still getting some heavier rain there. But the worst of this storm has now moved even almost beyond the northeast extension, almost there, almost completely past Upper Milford. And at this point, really where we'll be overly concerned with is from, as I draw a box for you here, pretty much anywhere in that blue box, that is now our area of concern, kind of that eastern, we'll call it maybe half or third of the tornado warning. That is where we're seeing the worst of this, and that is where our biggest area of concern should be at this point. As we zoom on in to see where we're at with some of the worst, there is Emmaus. You are definitely in the crux of the worst of this storm right now. You should already have been in your safe place when this tornado warning was issued right around 7 o'clock, 7:05 or so. But if you're not, you definitely need to be there now. You also see Coopersburg, Upper Saucon. Again, the worst of this storm is just starting to enter into your area. So right along 309, we have 378 just on the eastern edge of the worst of this storm. So anywhere basically between about the northeast extension and PA 29 up towards 78 and then over to 309, that is the worst of this system currently. So for another 8 minutes, we have our tornado warning until 7:30. This was issued at 7:05, and it has continued. And right now, the National Weather Service has not expired it early, meaning that for the time being anyway, the National Weather Service still does believe that this is strong enough that we need to continue the warning until 7:30, and then they will reevaluate at that time. Also, just to kind of give just a brief update again on what we'll be dealing with throughout the rest of the day today, we still could potentially see even later this afternoon another chance for some severe weather. A lot of these storms here this morning, the ones that are moving through the Lehigh Valley currently, it's all part of a passing warm front. It started to move in last night. It's bringing with it very warm, very humid, very conditions, and that is of course ripe for thunderstorm activity to develop. This front is continuing to press to the north, and right now it's firing up these early morning thunderstorms. It will continue to track to the north as the morning progresses. We will get a small break at times, most likely early in the afternoon, but with the high heat and high humidity, we can't rule out more pop-up thunderstorm activity later on in the day. So we do still have that slight risk, level 2 out of 5 for everywhere that you see shaded in the yellow, which is where we're already dealing with bad weather, dealing with this bad weather up in Berks County and the Lehigh Valley. But then also it extends as far down as the urban corridor here, I-95, Philadelphia, and even into parts of New Jersey as well. So this threat, while it will diminish at times here, probably towards the mid to late morning hours, it could redevelop later this afternoon, and then we'll have a passing kind of trailing weak cold front in the evening that could once again act as enough lift to give us another chance for maybe a thunderstorm to develop in the evening as well. So that's kind of our overview of what we'll be seeing later on in the afternoon and evening. We take you back to Storm Scan 3 to once again give you an idea of just what is happening right now. Our storm continues to move at about 15 miles an hour in that northeasterly fashion. We do see, again, still our tornado warning going until 7:30. Checking in with the National Weather Service just quickly, we are getting some storm reports right now. There has been some flash flooding. There's actually been a report, this one coming in just about 20 minutes ago, but now just coming through the National Weather Service. They did have a water rescue in Berks County, just around the Temple area. There was water on a windshield, all the way up to a windshield of a truck. And then we're also just around 7:05 this morning, there was about 3 feet of water in someone's basement where a fire department had to go and rescue somebody out of their basement, also in Berks County. And that was our threat for that flash flooding, which is still going to be a factor for us, even most likely beyond our tornado threat, which right now, again, is still scheduled to end in just about 5 minutes at 7:30. And so everywhere where we have the very strong returns, the very high returns on our radar, I'll circle them for you, is where we kind of have those purples and pinks right now. Upper Saucon, also again Lower Milford, just to the east of the northeast extension, and just south of 78, right along 309. That is where we could have maybe even up to over an inch to an inch and a half of rainfall rates per hour, which means that, again, it's dropping a lot of rain extremely quickly, and never drive through those flooded roadways. We we always say turn around, don't drown, and it is for your safety. Again, with already 2 water rescues being reported in Berks County, we want those to be the only 2. Make sure if you are having to go out this morning, maybe just hold off a little bit if you can, or always make sure you're never driving through, again, those flooded roads. So we're now at 7:26. Our tornado warning is still scheduled to go until 7:30. The worst of this storm is now getting into the far eastern edge of our warning box. So we're beyond, really the worst of it is now beyond the northeast extension, moving into Upper Saucon, again, just south of 78. So southern parts of Lehigh County right now, that is where we are going to focus our attention. Of course, we do have that tornado warning for areas to the west of where the strongest returns are on radar, but that will be scheduled to end here again in just about 4 minutes or so. But again, just south of 78 for Upper Saucon, right along 309 in Lehigh County, and now even extending a little bit further south into upper parts of Berks County. We're seeing some very strong, very heavy returns there, some very heavy rain just north of 663 in the Milford area, and just to the northwest of Richland, right along that Lehigh County and also Berks County border. So while, again, those areas are not necessarily within the tornado warning box, we could still be looking at some potentially dangerous conditions there as well. Just one more check in with the National Weather Service. They have now expired our tornado warning. So what that means is they are going to let it go for another 3 minutes until 7:30, but then it will expire, and they are not planning on extending it beyond 7:30. So originally we were scheduled to see the tornado warning end at 7. It was then extended till 7:30 because the storm still was showing signs of the potential there to potentially form a tornado. But at this point, the National Weather Service has deemed that the upper air rotation is relatively broad. We do not have any indications on the ground of a funnel or a tornado that is on the ground. So at this point, the National Weather Service is going to let this tornado warning expire at 7:30. So again, just about 2 minutes or so, we'll be seeing the tornado warning end, and then we'll just be continuing to monitor this cell for very heavy rain and still potentially seeing some hail associated with it as well. I do want to give you an idea of when it comes to flooding, since that is still a big problem for us. We did have that flash flood warning across Berks County until 8:45. That is still in effect until 8:45, and we do not now have any extra flash flood warnings for parts of Lehigh County, Berks County, or into Northampton County as well. But it would not be surprising if we do see very heavy rainfall with this as it continues to work its way right along the border right now of Lehigh and Berks County, and then again as it moves even further east along the border of Berks County in Northampton County as well. Also, when it flash flood watches, we don't have to, we're not looking at any kind of flash flood watch for the time being. When it comes to our regular flooding concerns, there is a flood advisory that is in place for the Lehigh Valley. That will be continuing through the morning hours. That will be until about 11:15 or so. We'll continue to see that flood advisory, and that is just because we have the rain that's heavy this morning, and then we do have the threat for maybe some residual showers even on the backside of this very potent cell that continues to work its way to the east. So flooding will be taking over as the primary concern once we hit 7:30 after this tornado warning does expire. So again, just one more time, it is now 7:29. Our warning is set to expire in just about a minute or so. We'll take you back to where that warning was. It was in the eastern kind of quarter of Berks County and extended itself all the way past the northeast extension in Lehigh County. But again, the good news is the National Weather Service has deemed that we can expire this warning at 7:30. We've now hit 7:30. The warning box has gone away, so they've continued that decision to expire it at 7:30. So right now, good news for us, we are going to see this tornado threat diminish, but there is still a chance for some very strong rain. We also are going to be potentially watching for some strong winds this afternoon. And again, that flooding threat will now most likely take over as the biggest problem that we potentially see as we go through the rest of the morning and into the afternoon hours. That was an update on the severe breaking weather that we've had so far this morning. CBS Eyewitness News this morning. We'll be back in just a bit.
Welcome back. We have been covering severe weather out of the Lehigh Valley all morning long and just issued a new warning for us. Meteorologist Matt Peterson is here tracking it all for us. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, hi, Jan. We, of course, just got done tracking the first two tornado warnings that originally was originally supposed to expire at 7, got extended until 7:30, and now the National Weather Service in Mount Holly has issued another tornado warning, this one for Berks, Lehigh, and Northampton counties, all the way until 8:15. So for just about another half an hour or so now, we will be watching for our Storm Scan 3 coverage here to show you that tornado warning again everywhere from kind of low eastern Lehigh County into southwestern parts of Northampton County, and then also northern Berks County as well. So I'll step out of the way. You can kind of get a better look at exactly what we're dealing with when it comes to the full screen there. You see the heaviest precipitation has kind of sunk a little bit further south into upper parts of Berks County. I had originally said that the worst of this storm had kind of been riding along the border of Lehigh and Berks, and then I thought maybe it would track a little bit further to the east into Northampton and right along that border of Northampton and Berks County, and that is kind of what has happened. If we're able to, I just want to talk to our control room real quick. If they can punch up our Skycam in Bethlehem right now, you can get an idea of what is going on within this cell. It is a very strong system. It's producing some very heavy rain. Of course, flash flooding has already been a problem. We've had multiple reports of water rescues, and now we are seeing that rotation again, once again, within the atmosphere, allowing for another tornado warning to be developed. We're also continuing to see the threat for maybe some hail in this as well. So again, our Skycam out in Bethlehem giving you a pretty good picture of what is actually happening on the ground. We're seeing some very heavy rain out there. Of course, dangerous lightning is a factor for this as well. We'll put our lightning kind of tracker on this, and you can see just how much lightning is actually associated with this storm, and it is extensive to say the least. It's basically from I-78 down south into Berks County. Here is a live picture from Bethlehem, and you can see again a lot of heavy rain out there coming down very, very strong, and it's really coming down at rates of anywhere between about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, to even at times, if you get really caught in a very particular area where it's extremely strong, as high as 2 inches per hour. So it's again definitely something that we're continuing to monitor on top of the strong winds, the hail, and the tornado threat, is that heavy rain and that flash flooding possibility. So again, this is what it looks like in the Lehigh Valley currently. But again, if you're in the Philadelphia area and you look outside, you think to yourself, wow, it's not doing a whole lot. It's not the case in areas to the north. So that is our live picture. We've seen some lightning out there as well. We'll go back to that in just a little bit. But let's go back to Storm Scan 3 and let's start to track this storm for you, as we'll put a little bit of a time stamp on it when we can, and we'll show you where it is going to go. Now, the first storm was moving at just about 15 miles an hour. This one also, again, still moving relatively slow, still at just about 15 miles an hour or so for the actual movement of this storm system. So we zoom in, we'll put our track on it, and you can get an idea of where this will be and when. Again, 15 miles an hour, and where the kind of notch is, you see from about Upper Sauk and then into Northampton County and then back down into Upper Berks. We'll start there and kind of move this in that northeasterly fashion again, and moving at just about 15 miles an hour. So it'll be in the Allentown area right around 7:53. You see Wassergas there also at about 8:02, Lower Saucon by 8:07, and just beyond the end of this new tornado warning, which will expire around 8:15. Just past that around 8:20, it will be around the Williams area, and then 8:26 into the Glendon area as well. So this again still moving very slow, and it will be continuing that northeasterly track again around Hellertown by 7:53. We'll give you the outline of our warning box once more, and we'll kind of dive into who is actually involved in this tornado warning currently. We have the Upper Saucon area right along 309, so Upper Berks County right along 309. So you see Coopersburg there just to barely into Lehigh County. We also have Richland Town up on 212. You are included in this tornado warning as well, as we head up 309 a little bit more to Upper Saucon, and then we have PA 378 anywhere if you are around the Upper Saucon area, or if you're around live off of 378 heading up into also there parts of Lehigh County. And then as we move it over into Northampton County, we have 412. So again, we talked about Hellertown already. Also from just about the I-78 corridor, so just a little bit north of Hellertown, down 412 to the border of Northampton and Berks County, and then over towards the 212 area. That's where we're also looking at this warning to include those sections just to the north of the Haycock area in Upper Berks County. That is where our warning line is, and we'll take you over then even towards you see 611 and the intersection of 611 and 412. That's kind of our lower corner there of the warning box, and then up towards Durham, and then again lower Saucon, and then the 78 corridor moving out of Northampton, or moving through Northampton County towards 611 there, kind of the upper edge, and that would be around Old Orchard is the far kind of northern corner of our warning box. So it does incorporate a pretty large area, this tornado warning going until 8:15. Of course, this is now the third tornado warning that we have had so far this morning. We were set to see our warning expire at 7:30, which it did. The National Weather Service, though, has deemed that this cell still shows indications that we could see a tornado develop within this storm cell. So that is why they have now issued another tornado warning, this one going So a couple times this morning I've showed you the velocity image to kind of give you an idea of where some of our rotation is best being seen. So let's go back to that and see if we can get a look at where we're potentially seeing maybe a little bit of better rotation. Now this is from our actual Philadelphia radar. This is the one that comes from the airport itself, and we are getting some better indications of a little bit of rotation in some areas there of Upper Berks County, just to the north of the Richland area. I'll circle it for you. That is, again, it's not super tight rotation, but it is tight enough that it does look like that is the area there just to the west, kind of to the west northwest there of 212. So if you're in Richland Town, or just live to the north of Richland Town, maybe a little bit to the west of PA 212, that is where we are seeing the strongest rotation being indicated on radar at this point. So that is where, if we do continue to see this now, as we update it for you here in real time, we're getting a better idea. Again, still not super strong indications that there is definitely a funnel or anything like that, but that is what that is the area that has really allowed the National Weather Service to think that this could still potentially cause a tornado to form, and that is what has prompted this now third tornado warning, which again does go for just about another 25 minutes or so until 8:15. So let's get our velocity off. We'll go back to the reflectivity, and we'll also try to let's see if we can get our hail tracker on here for you as well. And you can kind of see, again, we're not getting a ton of hail kind of popping up on the hail tracker right now, but we are definitely seeing areas where we could get some hail. So what we're looking at here is what's called a vertically integrated liquid, and what that basically does is it kind of measures how dense the column of water is that's within the rain that's falling, or within the clouds themselves. So where we have the darker green, so just a little bit to the south of Lower Saucon, just south there of I-78, and right along the border of Berks and Northampton County, we see those darker greens, and that is indicating that that is where we could potentially be seeing that hail develop and hail form, some of which could be as high as maybe even a quarter inch in diameter at times. So that is just another factor on top of what we're already dealing with the strong winds and the heavy rain. We are still also dealing with that threat for also some heavy rain, or I should say the hail to develop along with the tornado threat. So we go back to our reflectivity. We will let's loop this, and you can kind of see where it has been for the last just about hour or so. So this is for the last hour. It started well out to the west, and then it really kind of just started to gain some steam as it propagated to the east. So it started out in Berks County, originally prompting a flash flood warning for the Reading area and the northern half of Berks County. And then as we've gone now through the morning, it's gained some momentum, it's gained some steam, and it has allowed itself to strengthen enough that we eventually did have our first tornado warning earlier this morning, just around 7 o'clock. And then that has since continued to be a factor for us here again as we kind of continue to just give you an idea of where this has started. Again, Berks County and then into Lehigh, Northampton, and now upper parts of Bucks County as well, eventually slowly working its way across the Delaware River, eventually into New Jersey. We'll continue to just kind of give you an idea of the severe threats for today. While they are generally speaking going to be more so of the rain variety, the isolated chance for a spin-up tornado is still a possibility even throughout the rest of the afternoon. This is our severe storm threat for our Sunday. Strong winds will be out there. We're already, of course, dealing with that potential for a tornado and the hail, and then also the heavy downpours. We have been getting multiple reports of water rescues across now Lehigh as well as Berks County as this storm system continues to work its way west to east across the Lehigh Valley. When it comes to our severe weather chances, even through this afternoon, we do have them basically across the entire area. They are extending all the way from a marginal risk, which is level 1 out of 5 in areas across South Jersey, including the shore and down into Delaware, but also the I-95 corridor, the Lehigh Valley once again later today, and the Poconos too. That is a slight risk for severe weather, or level 2 out of 5. Again, that's for later on this afternoon, but again, we're already even still seeing some of that here to start the day out. Back to Storm Scan 3, a wider range picture as we give you the full kind of crux of what is happening across the region right now here this morning. Most of the heaviest precipitation so far today has stayed to the north. It's riding along this warm front that has slowly been lifting north. It started to kind of work its way in last night, and then it's bringing with it a little bit of lift. You usually get a little bit of lift with the surface front. It's the convergence of air there, and that is acting along with very hot and very humid conditions to feed these thunderstorms. And there was always the threat, yes, for severe weather today, but usually we don't see severe weather in the morning. It's typically something that we see in the afternoon as we get that really high heating from the day and when the humidity is usually at its highest as well. But again, with the lift this morning and with our temperatures still generally speaking in the 70s to around 80 degrees even here to start the day out, and with the high dew points, there's a lot of moisture out there. There's a lot of energy for the atmosphere to work with, and it only took a little bit, and that front just allowed these thunderstorms to really fire up and really be very potent. Now, while it is not warned in any way, I will take you out back to Berks County just very quickly. And you can see here just north of the Hamburg area and then also south of Brunswick, north of 78, we have another cell. Again, right now not warned in any capacity, but still very strong, probably dumping another round of very heavy rain on some areas in northern Berks County that have already had their fair share of rain to start the morning out. And we will continue to monitor this cell too as it continues to work its way east, eventually into more portions of the Lehigh Valley and then possibly the Poconos as well. Now, if we can, I'd like to go back to our Bethlehem camera if we're able to pop up our Skycam, because I want to give everybody an idea of, you know, it hasn't really been that long. I showed you this only a couple of minutes ago, and it was really coming down. You could not even barely make out the barn there in the foreground of our picture. And now just a little bit beyond, past where we originally talked about it, yes, it's still raining, but the worst of it, once it gets through your area, even though it's moving relatively slow at only about 15 miles an hour, on the back side of the heaviest rain, it's relatively quiet. You're still going to get the lightning, which is still a problem. You still could get some strong gusty winds, but once the worst of this cell moves through, you're looking at just some kind of regular thunderstorm activity with, again, on the leading edge of this system, the worst of the rain, the worst of the wind, and the highest threat for tornadic activity. So it's not going to take very long once this comes through for it to no longer, well, it still could be a problem, but the worst of it, again, once it goes through, will be nice because it will actually quickly diminish our chances for severe weather. So Storm Scan 3 will take you back to the cell itself. We'll put our warm warning box back on, and you can see where our tornado warning is in effect still for Bucks, Lehigh, and Northampton counties. This still goes until 8:15 to this morning, and we're going to just check in with the National Weather Service just real quickly. And again, this report coming in just from about 25 minutes ago, coming in also again from Berks County. Just it's another report of some very heavy rain, some flooding on the roadways, and this just harkens back to the fact that whenever we have these kinds of systems, while yes, there is the threat for that tornado to form, we're also again though dealing with the heavy rain that has really been a big problem for us this morning. Have multiple water rescues and those flooded roads. I highly suggest if you are in Upper Bucks County this morning, Northampton County, anything like that, if you can, make sure that you are going to be trying to stay off the roads as best you can. So overall, it really does look like this is going to continue to track to the east. I would like to continue to kind of track this for you here through the end of the warning. So again, for just about another 15 minutes or so, we're going to track this for you until this warning does end. Again, just 7:57. So for another 18 minutes, we'll continue to keep an eye on this system. We will go back to our radar picture here, and we'll take you back to that velocity that I've been showing you a couple times this morning to give you an idea of maybe where we could have the best chance for rotation. We are now getting a pretty good signature. This is a relatively good signature up in Upper Bucks County, now on the eastern side of 212. We'll zoom real far in. We're not getting a ton of towns to pop up on our radar picture here right this second, but again, just to the east of 212, to the a little bit north of the Richland area, that's where this rotation is looking to be maybe the best here to across those areas there in between 212 and 412 is where the rotation is the best, and is what most likely prompted the National Weather Service to continue its tornado warning again until 8:15 after the second one was scheduled to expire at 7:30. Again, what we look for on this kind of picture is where we have red and green kind of coming together. So it is a relatively large area of rotation that we're looking at right now. It's broad, as we like to say, down there in Upper Bucks County. But then we're also going to take a look at what's going on right now, again, as we continue to kind of update this picture for you. In real time. What we're seeing is also a little bit of rotation here up in lower parts of Northampton and even into lower Lehigh County as well, right around Lower Saucon and Upper Saucon, right just south of 78. And so these are the kind of areas that what we look for on radar. It doesn't necessarily prove that we have a funnel. It doesn't necessarily prove that we are looking at a tornado on the ground, but it is what we like to call radar indicated. And it is showing you that spin in the atmosphere that could potentially allow a tornado to develop. But also when we have this spin, it's what allows severe thunderstorms to kind of feed and grow, and it's what will feed that hail threat that we have also this morning, with hail maybe as big as 1/4 of an inch at times. And then just that rotation proves that these storms are extremely strong with very heavy rainfall coming down and causing that flash flooding threat as well. Back to our reflectivity, it shows that the heaviest rain and the definitely the strongest parts of this cell continue to move to the east. We'll put another track on this to give you an idea of where this will be. Again, moving at just about 15 miles an hour or so to the east-northeast. So again, it's in the Lower Saucon area right now. You see Durham. Just about 8 minutes, 8:08. We'll be looking at the worst of this in the Durham, or I should say it should be getting kind of through the Durham area by 8:08. We're talking about this getting through the Williams area right around 8:14. So just around the time that this warning will be ending, again ending at 8:15, it will be moving through the Williams area around that point. Holland around 8:20. And then as we kind of push further there into New Jersey, you see the Hughesville area as well. That would be around 8:25. So overall, even warning ends, this is still going to be a very strong, very potent system. So we'll still most likely be giving you that threat for some hail to develop, also strong gusty winds. And I know that I sound like a broken record, but the heavy rain is definitely something that is going to continue to be a factor for us, not just here this morning, but as the afternoon progresses. The other thing about this is the fact that now, again, we're not seeing necessarily any kind of tornado being reported at this point. But if we were to have that spin, if we were to see maybe a rotating funnel, something like that, with the heavy rain that's coming down, it would obscure what you're actually looking at. It would make the funnel what we like to call rain wrapped, and basically it just makes it extremely hard to see because we have the dense dark clouds rotating with this very dark heavy rain, and that would just kind of obscure what you're actually looking at. So sometimes it does cause a problem. It doesn't allow us to actually physically see what's going on. That's why we rely on our radar to show you the radar indicated with this velocity image and that kind of thing. I do actually want to show you what we like to call a cross section of the storm, and it kind of gives you an idea of just how high some of these clouds are. So as we take off our warning box, you definitely can get an idea of what we're going to be dealing with when it comes to this the kind of the rise in the atmosphere and the upward motion that we're seeing. So we're actually seeing upward motion here all the way up to about 30,000 feet. And that means that we're seeing really a lot of convection, a lot of movement of that air from the surface all the way up that high to almost the top of the cloud level. So again, that's just proof that this is a very convective, a very strong and very potent storm. And with that kind of the strongest updrafts going where that red is kind of in the column that's closest to you, if you were to think of this as kind of a 3D model, that goes up to about, it looks to maybe about 15,000 feet. That's where the strongest wind, the strongest upward motion is. And that is, again, just an indication that we most likely are seeing some hail with this. We have those strong updrafts. It feeds the thunderstorms, but it also, again, when it comes into particulars of the thunderstorm activity, not just feeding its growth, but also feeding things like hail. We need those strong updrafts to keep that ice up into the atmosphere before it gets too heavy to fall. So again, just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what that was looking like. These are very mature, this is a very mature, very strong thunderstorm that we are dealing with at this point. So it's definitely going to be a continued factor for us that we will be watching this again through 8:15. So for another 12 minutes, we do have our tornado warning, and it will be continuing again for another 12 minutes until 8:15. We have it right now. It looks like Lehigh County is most likely out of the worst of this. Maybe a couple of stray showers there in the southeast corner. Overall, even parts of Upper Berks County and also lower Northampton County, the worst of this storm is now getting towards the eastern edge of both of those counties, starting to cross over the Delaware River and move into New Jersey. But again, if you are south of 78 and we zoom into Upper Berks County, we're talking about 212. If you're still in between that 78 and 212 area, so Williams and Durham, even if you're along 611, again, right along the have the Regalsville area there, 611 in Upper Berks County. And then as we move even towards the Easton area, just a little bit south, the Easton towards Glendon, you still could be dealing with some very strong, very heavy rain, and also a lot of issues with strong gusty winds as this continues to work its way from west to east at about 15 miles an hour. Now, eventually going to be moving out of Bucks as well as Northampton counties. In just about 10 minutes or so, we'll be watching this tornado warning and checking just back in with the National Weather Service just quickly. Again, up in Berks County this morning around the Laureldale area. This report coming in just about 15 minutes or so ago. We did have some reports from trained spotters that are talking about some severe flash flooding in the Muhlenberg Township area. A lot of water rescues and tree limbs down in those parts of Berks County here this morning. And we're going to continue most likely to see these reports come in, hopefully not of water rescues, but I'm sure of downed trees. And with this heavy rain, and again, with a couple of strong gusty winds, that report talked about limbs down. We could have the ground be saturated. It doesn't take a whole lot, especially when the rain is coming down so heavy. If we do get some strong gusty winds, it could knock the tree branches down. It could also knock over those power lines, causing some power outages. And that will be a threat even later this afternoon, because we now have the saturated ground from this morning. And with more thunderstorms potentially rolling through later this afternoon, more gusty winds winds in the works for us maybe later today as well. That would maybe again lead to that chance for a power outage later on in the day. So our storm scan 3 shows you that warning right now, still for about just another 9 minutes until 8:15. We're going to continue to see this work from west to east, about 15 miles an hour. We put another track on it for you. To give you an idea of where we are looking at now, considering this is starting to now work its way almost completely out of Northampton as well as Berks County. So it will be exiting the region here sooner than later. We'll put the track on the front edge of this, which actually is already into New Jersey. And we see the Still Valley area, Little York, Greenwich. These are all areas that would be beyond the end of the tornado warning, which again goes until 8:15. So the front edge, the leading edge of this system at this point is actually now starting to cross into New Jersey, out of Berks and Northampton County, which is some very good news. When it comes to the back edge of the storm, when it comes to kind of the back edge of the worst part of the storm, that is still working its way out of those two counties. So again, Williams just around 4 minutes from now at 8:11, the Regalsville area right there along 611 right around 8:13, so just about the time that the warning will be ending. And then also the Holland area around 8:18, just past when the warning will end. We'll see this the back edge of the worst part of this cell get through those regions. We'll zoom out and give you another wide range view of everything that's going on here this morning. Most of it at this point is off to the north of the city of Philadelphia. It has been a problem for the Lehigh Valley and now maybe even parts of the eastern Poconos to start the morning out. This has all been associated with a warm front that has been slowly working south to north all morning long. It is all part of a much larger storm system that is going to continue to work its way through the area here today. So as this warm front comes through, it continues to lift those thunderstorms north. It will then allow very hot and very humid air to take the place of these thunderstorms through the afternoon. We'll be talking about dangerous heat today, temperatures that will be in the 90s, and that high heat and high humidity will feed our continued threat for severe weather, which will continue into this afternoon, with a slight risk for severe weather across basically the same area that is getting hit this morning. So across southeastern Pennsylvania, the I-95 corridor, up into the Lehigh Valley and the Poconos, that is our slight risk. That's our category 2 out of 5 on our list of severe outlooks. And while South Jersey and Delaware are not necessarily looking to have the biggest threat for severe weather later this afternoon, there is still a marginal risk even in those areas. And again, we are not just dealing with the threat for the heavy rain. We also could maybe have a little bit of even small hail continue to develop as the afternoon does progress here today. So our thunderstorm headlines for you, again, they are going to be the highest risk across Pennsylvania. They're already forming. We'll get a little bit of a break through the mid to late morning hours before our second round will come through. Again, we are dealing with strong winds. We've already seen that we do have that isolated tornado threat. It's been a factor for us across the Lehigh Valley here to start the morning out. And again, later this afternoon, it will still be something that we will be continuing to keep an eye on as the day progresses. Storm Scan 3, just one more time, again continues to show you our worst of this system off to the north of the Philadelphia area, up into Upper Berks and Lehigh and Northampton counties, and then also another cell that right now, again, not warmed in any variety, but just taking that heavy rain back across the places where we've already seen very heavy rain, very strong storms, and that's Upper Berks County, now starting to get into Lehigh, but then also you're seeing it moving towards Lehigh in there into the Poconos. There is going to be another threat for some maybe flash flooding, as these storms have been dropping 1 to about 1.5 inch rainfall rates pretty much all morning long. We're now at 8:10. We still watch our tornado warning going until 8:15. Checking back in with the National Weather Service, they have said that this tornado warning will expire, is set to expire at 8:15. They are not right now expecting this to be extended beyond 8:15. Now, that is also what we were thinking when it came to that second tornado warning that was set to expire at 7:30, we were thinking again at that point that we weren't expecting it to be extended beyond that, but the cell still held together enough, and it did prompt the National Weather Service in Mount Holly to continue to add onto that second tornado warning with this third one, which again goes until 8:15. So for the time being, the National Weather Service does believe that in 4 minutes we will be expiring this tornado warning, and then we should be able to then see this system continue to kind of diminish as it continues to work its way across New Jersey. It kind of will move out of a little bit further away from the actual axis of where the actual warm front is. And while that could still give us the threat for some thunderstorm activity as it moves into North Jersey, again, it looks like the tornado threat at that point should diminish enough that we're not expecting the tornado warning to potentially still continue to cause a problem for us there into New Jersey as well. Do you want to just, I'll take you to that cell that's coming just along 78 into out of Berks County and then around to the Lynn area of Northampton, and then you can see it moving again towards the northeast extension towards Lehigh County, or I should say towards Lehigh and in the Poconos. That cell is a little bit larger than the one that went through earlier, but again, you see a lot of very strong returns. We're talking about those purples and the pinks. That's the heavy rain that's coming down. And again, while this is not warned either in a severe thunderstorm or tornado variety, it wouldn't be overly surprising if you do see a little bit of hail that actually is being is actually dropping within some of the stronger parts of that second area of very heavy precipitation too. We'll loop our picture for you one more time. We have, of course, our warning in Upper Bucks and then into Northampton and Lehigh County. This will continue, again, the worst of it anyway, to stay north of the city, but we also are getting a little bit of some thunderstorm activity now a little bit further to the south. We'll take you down into Delco here this morning, right along the blue route there. You see Marple, also along Route 1 there, City Ave, and also Route 3 there, Westchester Pike, getting a bit of some heavy rain, maybe an isolated rumble of thunder coming through Delco, and that most likely will be moving closer to the city in just a little bit. Also up into Montgomery County, right on the corner, right on the edge of Bucks and Montgomery County there, right along the Turnpike. We got areas around Upper Moreland, Horsham, the Hatboro area, lower or Upper Southampton, a little bit of a cell there, maybe dropping a little bit of more moderate rain. And then into upper parts of Montgomery County, you see Collegeville, Limerick up 29, 113, skip back just to the east there, 422, another area there of more moderate to maybe even a potential heavier downpour with maybe some thunder associated with that. Now, again, the good news with those cells closer to the city of Philadelphia, we're not looking at any kind of severe weather at this point. And if you are in New Jersey, it is dry, and the same goes for Delaware to start the day out. Now at 8:13, we have just about 2 more minutes to go for our tornado warning that will be scheduled to expire at 8:15. That is, of course, the third tornado warning that we've had here this morning, all associated with the same cell that started as early as 5 o'clock this morning across Berks County. It gained steam as it moved eastward into the eastern half of Berks County and then into Lehigh County, prompting our very first tornado warning that officially was issued at 7 o'clock this morning. That was scheduled to go until about 7:30 or so, and then we ended up with another tornado warning that went a little bit longer than that, and now we have our third that is going until 8:15. So again, we are now at just about 8:14. We'll be talking about this for just about another minute or so, and then we'll be hopefully seeing this expire right around 8:15 this morning. So again, just about another minute or so, and then what that would mean is the tornado threat, at least for the time being, has diminished, and then we'll be hopefully not seeing this threat continue beyond this morning. So we've now hit 8:15. There, our tornado warning has expired. That was our third of the day. This one was for Upper Bucks, parts of Northampton, and also Lehigh counties. So at this point, the good news is, again, the tornado threat has diminished enough that the National Weather Service is saying that we do not need the warning anymore. We're going to continue to monitor this situation because we do have that severe weather threat, not just for the rest of this morning, but through the afternoon. And if anything does develop, anything more does develop here this morning or later on in the day, the Eyewitness Weather Team will, of course, keep you updated on all things that you need to know across the area. We'll be right back.